I'm going to show you how to make a really simple rotating tailstock collet chuck. I don't have a proper fancy one, but like many folks, I do have a cheap imported rotating tailstock centre. If you bore out a bit of bar to fit the OD of the rotating part and cut a 60-degree countersunk hole at the bottom of the socket, the tailstock centre's held very firmly concentric. In the other end you could get very fancy and machine up a taper and thread for an ER11 collet, but I'm going to make some custom collets from offcuts of brass.
Because you're cheap.
Frugal. Economical. I'll use this handy bit of 1.5" brass bar, but almost anything other than cheese or plasticine will work. Perhaps not Inconel, and definitely not carbide. It's Be Kind to Cutting Tools Week in my shop, okay? Amy, if you say titanium, I'll disable your voice algorithm. If I can find out how. Quinn Dunkey would say something pithy and apposite at this point, but I'm just going to face off the bar. This bar's a bit over a banana and a half and not terrifically round, so I'm turning the OD to 38mm in some sort of impotent protest about imperialism and concentricity. This brass can be a bit grabby with sharp positive rake tools designed for anything but brass, so I'll drill it out in stages to 1 inch. Whatever that is in real money. I'll take it out to dimension using this 16mm boring bar with a Collet CCGT09T308 lapped insert from Cutwell. Hashtag not sponsored. The socket needs to be 22mm deep with a flat bottom. I made sure I drilled the centre a little deeper so I can get the boring bar tip right into the recess. I took 2 balanced cuts to reach the final dimension, but as they look identical, I'm only playing 1. Which one is it though?
I know, ask me.
No. The target dimension's 29.268mm. I think that'll do. This 5/8 centre drill will do fine for making the 60-degree countersink. I need to get the countersink to exactly the right depth, so using a parallel and offsetting my tailstock DRO makes life easy. Well, as easy as life can get in these extraordinary times. Let's see if it fits.
Good pop.
I think that's a reasonable fit. I need a 6mm through hole which I'll then bore from the other side. Interestingly long drill there. Now it's time to part it off, and you all know what that means. I reground these jaws recently, so they're spot on concentric at 40mm. They're pretty close at 38mm, but I need to make sure the workpiece is seated correctly. Off camera I checked the alignment and concentricity more carefully. And before anyone asks, I did use the reference jaw to do the final tightening of the chuck. That's reasonably close, about 25 micrometers, about a thou. There's a bit of adjustment possible with the grub screws, so it doesn't have to be completely perfect. I'm using this little spacer to give me a reference surface of the back of the part, so I can face it off at the right length.
Butterfingers.
That's the projection finished to diameter, so now I'll form the 30-degree chamfer. I set the compound slide to 60 degrees.
Neil messed up badly through clumsiness and had to take the part out of the chuck and put it back. He didn't check for concentricity, hence the wobbles. Oh dear.
All fixed and re-centred, and only me, Amy and half of the internet will ever know. That's another of my lovely little 3-point bore micrometers, Mitutoyo that time. Quick clean up with a bit of Gariflex, and then we get to see if it fits. The next operation's drilling and tapping the 4mm and 6mm grub screw holes. Just for the sheer hell of it, I'm using my Heimer to find the centre of the part. Once again I'm using the 3mm carbide spotting drill. My vice end stop doesn't fit on the new vice, so I'm improvising with a cart twist. More improvising now. I thought I'd got a bit of 5mm drill rod, but the cupboard's bare. The plan, such as it is to use the drill to turn it 90 degrees and then align that with the top edge of the vice. It'll never work. That's all 8 holes done, so now to tap them. Eight holes tapped and job's a good 'un. These Starrett tap wrenches are an absolute joy to use. I love them. 93A and 93B, I'll put a link in the description. Using them is life enhancing. I suppose I should have deburred them while they were in the vice, but somehow life's too short. Time for a test fit. Wish me luck, I'm going in. Next job's to make one of the collets. I've got an upcoming job using some 6mm drill rod, or silver steel as we know it. So once I've made the collet, I'll try it with a ridiculous amount of stick out and see how badly it goes. So after spotting it with a 3mm carbide and then drilling it out using a 5.8mm jobber, I'm going to use a 6.0mm reamer to take it to size. Ominous forebodings, as Quinn would say. Well, that seemed like pretty good fit. However, one of us forgot that when you split the collet, it springs open a little bit. Then it's all loose. So I parted that off, put it in the bin and made a completely new one, and I've reamed that to 5.99mm. So I'll flip the part, face off the back and chamfer the corner.
Neil's too embarrassed to explain that he's lost the box of 4mm grub screws. Those look appallingly dangerous. I hope he's going to get some replacements. He is completely hopeless, isn't he?
Those 8 grub screws give me enough adjustment so I can get the part very, very concentric with the lathe axis. Now the real use of this is going to be cutting some circlip grooves in some 4mm steel bar. But that's a story for another time. I'm old fashioned, so I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe. But only if you like it and you want to subscribe. Deal? Try watching that one next.